Welcome to the Thoughtful Leader podcast. My name is Ben Brearley. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of Thoughtful Leader. The Thoughtful Leader podcast is all about short, sharp leadership advice because thoughtful leadership is good leadership. Welcome to episode 332 of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. In this episode, I'm going to talk about dealing with that difficult person. So this could be someone in your team who doesn't do what you want them to do. Could be a difficult stakeholder who, just doesn't agree with you, a disagreeable person, maybe someone that's just difficult to deal with. They have a strong personality or something like that. So in this episode, I'm going to look at 5 things that you need to deal with that difficult person. So let's get into this topic right now. This is a universal problem. Leaders across the globe are currently, as we speak and as you listen, they're currently dealing with this issue right now. So this could be a difficult person in your team. The stereotypical one I hear is, there's someone in my team who's been in the organization a long time. They don't want to change. They don't want to do anything. They don't really want to respect my leadership at all. And I really have trouble getting them to do what I need them to do. So that's one. Other examples are things like difficult stakeholders who are difficult personalities who create conflict, or maybe they're a stronger personality that won't do what you want them to do, or are disagreeable or won't collaborate with you, all those sort of things. So as I've said many times before, there's no silver bullet solution to any of these situations. And unfortunately, the leadership space has become such that we like using little memes and mottos and slogans and models to try to pretend that we can simplify the work of leadership and simplify people so that we can just follow this little equation or follow this motto and it will actually help us in our problem. Well, the news to you is that no, it won't work because people are complex, situations are complex, and the circumstances are always different for every leadership situation. So the chance that you can put your little nice leadership motto on top of it, or maybe I give you a nice leadership model to use, maybe it'll simplify things, but it won't solve it for you. So here's 5 things to help you deal with that difficult person. Now, these 5 things are not easy, but they are, in my opinion, what's required. Okay, number 1 is patience. You are going to need patience to deal with a difficult person in your workplace, because it's pretty likely that this person didn't just become difficult overnight. There's a combination of circumstances and history that probably led to this person's current attitude and demeanor. And that means changing that or helping them to think differently and to change their behavior might actually take a long time, because in some ways they have got to where they've gotten to now by doing a certain thing, and in some ways they have been rewarded for that behavior. And that may sound counterintuitive. If someone's nasty, how do they get rewarded? Well, it might be they achieve what they want to. Maybe when someone's nasty to you, you don't want to talk to them, and what they want is for you not to talk to them. Therefore, mission complete, right? That is their goal. They have satisfied their goal for you to go away and leave them alone. So that's just one example. So you are going to need patience to pretty much retrain this person to behave the way that you want them to, with you, for example. You're not going to be able to retrain them to fix their personality, and there'll be more on this later, but it's going to require patience to put something in place and to help them learn that the way to deal with you that they're currently doing is not working for them. And so they encourage to try something different. So that's patience. The second thing you're going to need, though, is commitment. Now, you're going to need commitment because at times you will be challenged by this person's behavior, whatever it is. And you will be tempted to give up on it, to stop trying, to avoid difficult conversations. Sometimes you just won't feel like it. You'll be tired. You've got other priorities. And you might go, you know what? I really cannot be bothered dealing with this person. And you're going to let things go. The problem with that is you stop reinforcing the message that you're trying to send. because you have a little gap. So maybe you try some things, then you stop trying. That person, in some ways wins the battle. So you're going to need commitment to keep pushing even when it's uncomfortable. And that might mean, in combination with patience, which is number one, that might mean that you can actually get an outcome over the longer term. Because like I said, these people didn't just get this way overnight. There's a good chance that it will take some unwinding. So you're going to have commitment. You're going to have to stick at it and persevere if you're going to get a result here. And so it's worth asking yourself, are you really committed in the long term for this problem? Or do you know what? Are there other things you should focus on? Because maybe you can stop at step 2 if it's not worth focusing on. Now, the third thing you're going to need is some empathy. And this is very difficult because if someone is challenging, it's very easy for you to label them as incompetent, difficult, idiotic, whatever words you want to use here. It's very tempting for us to jump to those conclusions. And it's natural to do that as well. So we don't have to beat ourselves up if we do that. But one of the ways you're going to be able to work through this situation and to stay calm and composed is to have empathy, which is think from their point of view. Why would that person be being stubborn or difficult? Now, for example, someone in your team, we're rolling out a new process. I'm trying to get people to come on board. It's a good idea, but these people aren't getting on board with it. They keep pushing back. They keep resisting. Thinking about, why would that person be taking that stance? So empathy, as we've covered before, does not mean I have to feel sorry for the person or I have to have been in their shoes exactly. Empathy just means making an effort to think from that person's perspective so that you can approach the situation with more of an open mind. And hey, if you actually think from their perspective quite well, you might even be able to solve the problem because you can address their concerns directly. And having empathy will help you to stand back and approach the situation more objectively. And that means you're more likely to stay calm. And generally, staying calm and being composed is likely to get you a better long-term result than exploding in rage, yelling at people, and all those bad behaviours. Simply because they can have a hit on your reputation and your credibility, which is going to erode trust in the long term. So I think having empathy allows you to stay composed, to detach a little bit, to be more objective, and to get out of your own head a little bit as well, because we spend a lot of our time in our own heads, especially as thoughtful leaders. And therefore, thinking from another person's perspective is interesting. And actually, coaching is a great way to do this. If you're interested in looking at potentially working with me on some difficult challenges with people, then get in touch. You can go to the coaching page on my website. It'll be on the show notes page. There'll be a link there, thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/332. And you can get in touch with me and see how I can help. The reason coaching is useful for this sort of problem is because I will naturally think from a different point of view than you do because I'm not you and I'm not working in your workplace. And a lot of the times that people like working with me is because I don't work in their workplace. I don't know the people they deal with, and therefore I have a completely different perspective. So that was number 3, empathy. Now, number 4 is important as well, and that is a goal to work towards. Now, this is all about looking at the end game. What do you want from this relationship? What do you want this person to do? How do you want them to behave? What do you want their general attitude to be like? What's the solution here? You have to have a goal in mind. You don't necessarily have to discuss this goal with this person, but you do have to have something in mind that you're looking for, something you're looking to achieve. For example, what behavior would be different? What would you see from them instead? What positive things would you notice? All these sorts of things are good to consider. And the reason they're good to consider is because once you've spent some time working towards that goal, you can start to make a call as to whether you're making progress or that you're not making progress and something else has to change. And that leads me to point number 5. And this is having the courage to make the call when it's not working, when you're not getting closer to your goal. And one of the things I like to ask people when they're, working with a difficult person or there's some difficult thing going on, I ask, why would the person bother to change their behavior? Because most people need a consequence, something bad happening to change your behavior, or they need a positive outcome to look for to change their behavior. If people can just get away with bad behavior and keep doing what they're doing, and there's no consequence for that behavior or no benefit for changing that behavior, what's the point? Why would they bother to change their behavior at all? They probably wouldn't, because they're getting something out of the behavior that you're seeing at the moment. So number 5 is really about the courage to make the call when it's not working. And that is about having a direct conversation maybe. Maybe it's to, try to think of consequences you can enact. Maybe having that, I think one of the biggest things is to give feedback to someone if it's not working. Maybe pointing out what you've tried, what you're noticing, and that the behavior hasn't changed, and therefore here's what's going to happen from now on. So you're going to have to make some sort of injection into the situation to force a change. You're going to have to shock the system to make something happen. So for a difficult person in your team, for example, often that means formal warnings, performance management processes, all that sort of stuff, which is not things that we want to do because they take time, they're not pleasant for anybody. But these are the sort of things you're going to have to do to shock the system and get something happening. And so just to recap on all these things, you're going to need patience. You're going to need to commit for the longer term. You're going to need empathy to help you remain calm and composed. And it's useful to have a goal to work towards. That's number 4. And then number 5 was the courage to make the call when you realize it's not working. And obviously you don't need number 5 if you are achieving your goal because what you're doing is working. So those are the 5 things I think you need to deal with that difficult person. Have you got any more things that you need to deal with that difficult person? Let me know in the comments on the show notes page, thoughtleader.com/podcast/332, or you can whack a comment on Spotify as well. I read all those as well. So let me know what you think about this one and what else would you suggest. All right, thank you very much for listening to this episode. Be sure to rate it as a 5-star on your podcast app of choice if you like it. All right. Keep up the thoughtful leadership as usual, and I'll be back next week.